So let me introduce you to our first speaker, Tom Landis. I had the pleasure of meeting Tom 33 years ago through my wife, also in the public relations and the marketing field. And to watch Tom's trajectory, awesome, just awesome. He was born and raised in Washington, D.C. His mother had polio. And because of that, they took public transportation because she wasn't able to drive. And that episode of life will have a lot to say about what Tom talks about today. So you'll see how that transitions. After graduating from this little school in Austin called the University of Texas, congratulations to you in the upcoming playoffs. He worked for a large marketing firm before opening up his own. In 1996, he opened his first restaurant, then 6 more. And then he realized it was the employees that were in the back of the house that were untapped. And with English, he felt that many of his beloved employees could advance, could succeed, could do much more from a management perspective. So he partnered with a professor at a community college, and long story short, over time, helped bring English as a second language to 1,300 people, to give them a fighting chance and an opportunity in their career. And no surprise for that work that he did back in 2001, Tom became the very first non-Hispanic to receive the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, Businessman of the Year Award for that work. That's awesome, Tom. He went on to open 7 more restaurants. And then in 2014, he read a very special book that he'll be talking about, which opened up an entirely new chapter, pun intended, of his career. In 2015, he founded Howdy Homemade. It's a business that employs to the broadest spectrum of people. And the only way to make that reality happen is he went all in. How many of you have mortgaged your home to do something that you wanted to do? I want you, at the end of the day, I suspect when you hear the word all in, you're going to think of Tom Landis. He now has 7 franchises. Their ice cream is available now in more than 2,400 grocery stores. He and his wife live in Dallas. They have a son who is a junior at the amazing Cistercian Preparatory School, and they have a daughter who's at the equally amazing Ursuline Academy, and she's a freshman. So without further ado, introduce Tom Landis. Tom.
Thanks, y'all. If it's okay, I just have a little problem sitting sometimes. But what I'd really like to start off with is, something that I'm always trying to look at is, what does this have to do with business? Right? How do we take this and apply it into the most sacred area of anywhere on earth? And that's not the churches. It's our businesses. It's our wallets. It's where cash is king, right? And in starting to look at that and trying to look at this, how can I apply my business and my life to this, right? And I like to fish, right? And I read the story, right? We're all probably fairly familiar with it. There's 3 guys and they're fishing on a boat all night, right? And these guys are fishing and they're not throwing boppers in the water and knocking back a 6-pack. They don't catch, they don't eat, right? And they don't catch anything all night, right? Toiling, working all night long. That all-night chapter of our life that sometimes goes on and on and on. But in the morning, there's a guy on the shore, and what's his name, Grant? Jesus. Right. He says, you know what? Don't fish on this side of the boat where you're catching nothing. Fish on this side, right? What do they catch all this fish and whatever? And okay. So what does that have to do with business? Let's put it into the restaurant industry, right? We have a restaurant industry, and I hate restaurant owners because all they do is complain because they're looking at 100%, 125% turnover rate, and they're just there fishing on this side, and they're fishing on this side, right? And for 9 years, you know what? Guys like Brandt miss their favorite games, their favorite football games, their favorite anything. You know why? Because they care about my business way more than I do. Right? And so we say, listen to Jesus. He says fish on this side, right? Well, on this side, in North Texas alone, there's 280,000 fish. 280,000 special fish in North Texas. 280,000 adults with special needs that desperately pray for what you and I take for granted, and that's a job. And so we start listening to Jesus, we start pulling him in, we say, hey, Brant, come on in this boat. Oh, wow, Brant, you actually do a much better job than I do. Wow, okay, there is change there, there's money there, there's opportunity there. And all of this, you know, I started seeing why, because, you know what, I just started saying, God, can you help me be creative, right? We'll be creative, why not go to the Creator, right? And a book came to me by legendary coach Gene Stallings, won a national championship at Alabama, was one of the Junction Boys at A&M, and he wrote a book called Another Season about a son born June 11th, 1962. With Down syndrome, and then he won a national championship at Alabama. And you know what? He was the assistant coach under a guy named Tom Landis for 12 years with the Dallas Cowboys. And you know what I read out of that book? Nobody in Dallas was going to give his son a job. Not the opportunity. And that's what Coach Stallings cared about more, right? That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. And so we started thinking about it. So in honor of his alma mater, A&M, we named it Howdy. And you know what? I didn't really want to bring our ice cream here today. I did because I want to win you guys over. But I also didn't because the ice cream really isn't our product. Our product is our people. Right? God stopped making food a long time ago. And if you don't believe that, look at the Applebee's announcement from about 2 weeks ago. They finally approved lab meat. Now, who wants to go out for some lab meat today? I don't know if it's black lab, golden retriever, but it ain't meat that I want. That's all I know. Howdy's product is a little bit different. It's our people, and it's a guy named Brant Urban. Brant, come on up, and man, share with these people your heart.
I definitely will. I forgot to say my name. My name is Brant Urban. People call me Boss Man. Sometimes. I have enjoyed working for Howdy Homemade since it opened about 8 years ago. Now I'm the vice president. I like make people happy, and ice cream makes people happy. We give out samples in our store in Dallas, Texas, and we serve up scoops along with a smile. And what he said earlier, my number one favorite is Dr. Pepper chocolate chip, but there's another one. One of my other favorite flavors is chocolate as all get out. Because my face is on the side It is great that Howdy hires people with unique abilities, but even better, we get to show customers and other business owners that God has created each of us with special talents. I love having a job that I can go to for 4 to 5 days a week. I make money. That which allows me the freedom to pay for things like going out to eat, going to concerts, and WWE. I hope you consider giving others like me an opportunity to have a job. Thank you very much.
I wanted to build a mission out of it. And in order to do that, I needed some fishermen to help me with it. And really one of the truly greatest people that I've ever met, somebody that I don't consider just a friend or a business partner, but a guy that I think truly, and I hope and I pray for, will consider running for politics someday, and that's Rod Batson. And I want to just tell you a little bit about this guy. Killer athlete in high school, stud football player in college, and so what does every stud football player want to do when they graduate college? Make a lot of money, go pro? No, work for Child Protective Services. And why did Rod want to do that? Because he wanted to serve, he wanted to get back. He gets in there, and you know what happens? He realizes Child Protective Services is a Monday through Friday job. Most of the problems happen on Friday night or Saturday night. You come in on Monday, and you got a bunch of cold cases. So he flips the whole system around, creates a weekend division, starts to create a lot of change, real change. At the same time, one of the greatest lessons you ever learn in life is what's the most important decision you make in life? Business decision. What's the most important business decision you'll make in life? Wendy, your spouse, right? It's your spouse. Man, and this guy has this awesome girlfriend, and he marries her, and she's working for some doc, and some doc goes, man, Rod, you're just great. You need to get out there and make some money. So so Rod starts a business, or whatever, by 30, he's got his Lambo. And he just crushing it. And then he comes to us, and he hears about Howdy, and it was such a beautiful thing. The first time meeting him at Woody's Smokehouse Barbecue, halfway between Dallas and Houston, and he shows up, and man, it's 3 generations. It's Rod, his wife, his 2 beautiful kids, and his dad. Man, I mean, this is just greatness. You could just sense it the first time you meet, right? And to then mark some real change. And Rod's like, hey, let's do this. And it's interesting because when you start something, sometimes you get frustrated because there's people come along and they're so much better at it than you. And that's Rod. He's got now 8 different businesses. It's just not Howdy. It's so much more. And I just couldn't say enough about it. I think one of the almost most important thing in my life actually happened before I was born. And on August 27th, it was a Tuesday, around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, my wife was, my mom, at the time, my mom was a secretary at a bank. And she was called into a bank meeting, and the bank said, do not come downtown tomorrow. A really bad guy is coming to town, and it's a really bad message. Stay home. And my mom didn't listen, and so on Wednesday, August 28, 1963, my mom went downtown and got to hear Dr. Martin Luther King deliver an I Have a Dream speech live. And so I don't know with that, but it just makes me think that gosh, I hope that there's a really good guy here now with a really good message, and that's Rod Batson.
A couple more words on Rod. He earned his bachelor's degree in sociology from Texas Lutheran University, and he also received his master's in mental health psychology. He is, as Tom described, he's a Renaissance man. He's not just an accomplished entrepreneur, but he's a dedicated philanthropist. Many in this room fit that model. He serves as a franchisee of Howdy Homemade Ice Cream just north of Interstate 10 in Katy, Texas, which is just west of Houston. His dedication to providing employment opportunities for individuals with different abilities is unwavering. And as Tom said, Rod is the owner of several different companies, 8 total. One is called Essential Speech in ABA Cyprus, and that provides speech therapy and occupational therapy to kids with autism. His involvement with Howdy Homemade goes beyond profit, as you will hear him talk about. Last year, he was honored for his exceptional community efforts at the First Class Men of Houston dinner, and that recognition serves as a testament to the impact that he's made in their lives. He and his wife live in Katy. They have a 7-year-old son, and they have a 5-year-old daughter, and we're just thrilled to have Rod here. I would be remiss if I did not say, when we first started promoting this program, talking about brand building and cultivation, you saw we had a couple of other individuals who were intending to be here. So they expressed their apologies for not being here. Dwight Risky is a person we know well at the Catholic Foundation. He was a former Senior Vice President, Chief Marketing Officer at Frito-Lay. He was called to a nonprofit board meeting today in Tulsa, at which he's giving a compensation presentation. And then Mark Rappaport is the Chief Commercial Officer of Conga Brands. They're upcoming, competing against Gatorade, competing against Red Bull. He used to be in charge of Red Bull for the Americas for 8 years, and now he's been with Conga Brands and pushing a product called Alani Nu, which is an energy drink, and then also Prime Hydration. He was called today to be in Louisville, Kentucky for a merger and acquisition meeting. I'm not quite sure who's acquiring who, but nevertheless, the point is both of them expressed their condolences that they couldn't be here. But blessed are the flexible, and that's where Tom comes into play. And I just always say, you know, just when you make plans right, God says, how about something slightly different? And so enter our next speaker, Rod, and I'm just blessed to have him here after I talk with Tom, because the things that he will talk about from what building and cultivating a brand is about, again, a lot of it's going to tie in with heart, not necessarily the look and the fabric and the feel of logos. Those are important. I want to stress that. Those are very important. But it's also a lot of dealing with people. So, Rod, take it away.
Standing up, I'm not too much taller than sitting down. So I drove up from Houston last night, like at midnight, because he called me yesterday and asked me to help, speak. So it's been a long night, but I didn't really prepare much, so I'm just speaking from my heart. At the end of the day, my voice has a power to change, and so I came from humble beginnings in Third Ward, Houston, Texas, where I grew up, and sports is all we knew, sports in the streets, and so I knew that wasn't an end goal for me. And my mom was a school teacher for 37 years. I helped retire her. My sister, my older sister, has been a teacher for 17 years, and now she helps run my companies. But growing up, I knew God had He had a calling on my life, and I didn't really know what that was. I thought it was sports, and bad decisions in high school led me to going to juvenile, and I lost everything, my scholarships and everything. I was one of the top athletes in Houston, and so that was a major setback, and in those moments, I really had to find myself. And so I remember asking, just for another chance, if I could stop being a follower. I want to live my life being a leader. And I didn't know what that meant at 17, but I knew that my word is all I have, and if I get another shot, I'm gonna do right by it. And so I got a scholarship to play at a smaller university to prove myself. And at Texas Lutheran University, it was a cakewalk because I just felt like, man, sports is easy. I'm fast. I'm athletic. This is easy. But strangely, I lost passion for sports, and I gained passion for helping people because I felt like God helped me. And I started to look at all the things that He blessed me with, the many gifts. I was always personable. I was a guy that people, just confided in and liked and would call on to fight their battles. And although the battles weren't my battle, I felt like I needed to jump in and help save the day. And when it rains, it pours, and I felt like, well, who's there for me when I'm helping them? I didn't have that help. So now I wanted to figure out how I can my body can be a vessel, my voice can be powerful to help other individuals walk, toward the light. And so in college, my passion for football and track, dimmed, but my passion for helping others, started to rise. And my uncle, he's from Dallas, Steve Bullitt. He ran the Dallas Police Department for many years, and then he went on to be in the Secret Service, played in the NFL. And so I leaned on him, and he shared some amazing words of wisdom to me. And so after college, I took a job for Child Protective Services because I knew as a lost child, there's many kids out there that are in situations where they're abused and neglected, and they're just needing somebody. And so I wanted to be that hope and that voice. And the way that I felt I can reach as many kids as possible is being a CPS and really grabbing kids that were being abused and neglected, and then trying situations and try to be a mentor for them. And at 21, I thought I could be more than I was able to be with the agency because of the restrictions. As an investigator, you come in, you see a child being abused, you remove that child, you take them to a shelter, you go on to the next case. And so it's just a rat race, and you go to court, you testify, and mom and dad know the system, and they know how to work the system, and the kid's right back in mom's arms. And so I was like, this is not for me. I'm not really doing anything but making a profit. And so I tried to do everything I said, like Tom said, I built a night unit to try to help the kids over the weekend that were being neglected, but just burnout occurs, right? And so, again, God just, guided my steps, and I got a call from a spine surgeon in San Antonio, Texas that said, hey, I need a medical sales rep. You're a loyal guy, I know your wife, I want her to be my nurse, she's in nursing school. If you can move from Houston to San Antonio, I'll double your salary and I'll give you a job in the medical field. So, packed up and went to San Antonio. And it was a blessing in disguise. I didn't know why, again, but being under this individual at 23 years old, he showed me so much, taught me so much, I matured so much, and 2 years later I ended up starting my own company, a medical distribution company where we manufacture and distribute implants for spine and orthopedic surgeons. And so it's a field that I knew nothing about, but if you ever hustle, you can really make a dollar in it. So I figured that out fast, and I blew it up. And being young and 28 years old, like he said, buying Lamborghinis and stuff, I felt like I was going right back to that world of like impressing society. And as a kid, you feel, man, once I get that Lamborghini, I'm gonna be the happiest guy in the world. And I was the loneliest at 28, because it's like, man, I finally hit this peak of success. And what is that? When you just have all these unfulfilling items, right? Relationship with my wife was struggling because, the cars bring you to the clubs and the bars, and it's just a mess again. So it reminded me of that 15, 18-year-old kid again, but at 28 with a lot of money. And so I instantly slowed down, and life slowed down because something called COVID hit. And when that hit, I really just came back to that place of asking myself, what is your purpose? Like, what is your purpose? And growing up, I had a cousin that was identical to Brand. He had Down syndrome. And in third ward, he was the only one with Down syndrome, so kids picked on him. But me and him were really close, and that's where anger arises from, because I didn't understand, why did y'all see him as different? I saw him as like hope and inspiration and a strong vessel, because he overcame what we couldn't overcome. Like a problem to him wasn't a problem. He just wanted to tackle it. He would walk in this room and meet anybody, and he would captivate the crowd. So my experience with individuals with special needs was different than the world's, because in public school they would put them in one hallway and we're in another, so we never got to interact. And so I wanted to highlight populations of people like him that don't get a chance to be on the big stage. And during COVID, my wife is a Starbucks drinker, and she keeps the Katie Starbucks in business. And so we were in the process of purchasing Starbucks, and I was at the very last stage, and I saw Tom on, I think it was Good Morning America at the time, and it was him and Brand. I didn't know that Tom was from Dallas. I was listening to it while doing push-ups, and he was talking about his GoFundMe and how COVID is really, causing a strain on the business, and that he may have to let it go if COVID didn't light up. I remember I looked at my wife and said, man, sorry, we're not doing Starbucks, we're doing Howdy. She said, oh, you're impulsive, you're crazy. I am. So at the end of the clip, his number was on the screen, and I called Tom. And he told me a little about what he said just now. The restaurant industry is tough, and he's been in it for a long time. He's like, you're young, you're successful, just be careful, because it's a hard industry, and that's the worst thing you can tell a person like me. Like, I love the challenges. I love when somebody says don't, and so I said, hey, can you meet me halfway between Houston and Dallas? And so I bought a checkbook, and he said, let's meet, and we struck a deal that's been life-changing, because during COVID, I lost my cousin E.T. from Down syndrome, but I gained 37 more employees with special needs, differently able. And so I tell people all the time, I have multiple companies, from trucking company, emergency children's shelter for kids that are abused and neglected, home health care, just a lot of things in the medical field, but nothing gives me all the feels like Howdy Homemade. Some days when it's just rough, I go sit in there and I vibe with individuals like Brand, because the energy that they have is different, and everything that I needed to know in life, I've learned from them. I didn't learn from making money. I didn't learn from buying nice cars or jewelry or running touchdowns and winning, championships. I learned from individuals like Brand. When they show up to work, They don't look at the clock and ask when they're getting off. They ask for more days to work. I don't have to ever watch my cash register. They watch it for me. You know, we don't ever get bad complaints about customer service. My medical companies, I do. My trucking company, you know, trucks get towed a lot because drivers are drunk and so forth. I have, in 3.5 years, got to complain about the employees that we hired now. And so, every chance I get, I just try to highlight individuals that made me who I am. It was not the athletic ability, it was not the lessons I learned growing up in the streets of Houston. It was meeting people like Brian and my cousin Easy, who really showed me how to be a God-fearing person and a better man. And so the businesses that I have now and everything I do now is to really help other people. So I'm a big philanthropist in Houston and around, but it's because I feel like the gifts that God gave me aren't mine, they're really His, and so I want to share them with the world. And I really fear that the days that I go back to thinking it's because of me, like He could take it from me. And in the darkest times is when real stars shine. And so I appreciate the dark moments because it helped me to get to where I'm at today. And I pray that I never have those moments again. But as long as I stay around good people like Brand and the kids at my emergency shelter who come in there and they just need a positive figure in their life, life is so much better. And so I don't know the message today. I don't really even know the topic. At the end of the day, you know, business, how I've been successful in business is just walking in my purpose and walking in my passion. I feel like I finally found myself. And with that, people see my passion and my purpose and they support it. And so it's not about the big marketing schemes that I have. I'm just honest and I'm straight up about my reasoning and my purpose. Howdy has a mission. You know, Aspire to Dream Children's Shelter has a mission. We want to teach kids a skill set so when they leave the doors, they have a chance to go get employment in this world. So everything that I do has a purpose and a mission behind it, but it just comes from my heart. And so sometimes I look up and ask, why did God choose me and why are things successful? Because I didn't do anything special. I think it's the purpose and the passion behind it and the people that are behind what I do that makes it successful, whether it's my nonprofits or my for-profits. It's just walking in your purpose and fulfilling that with every ounce that you have. And so it was an honor to drive up last night at midnight to come speak, because whether it's 2 people or 2,000 people, I just want my voice to be heard, and hopefully I can inspire somebody like people like Brandon inspire me. And so any chance I get, I want to be a testimony and share my testimonies with individuals. Because if you can help one person, you can help the world. And so that's really my story. It's people that along the way, like Tom, who allowed me to franchise Howdy, not knowing me from a can of paint, that really changed my life. And so I want to do the same thing until God calls me home. And so that's my story, and I appreciate y'all letting me speak.
We're going to roll into Q&A. I do want to just start with a quick question for both of you. I mean, people, purpose, passion, we've heard that. So for those of us in the room who are saying, how do we put to paper a brand that resonates with people who we want to get in touch with? How do you take the people and you take what's inside of you, that passion, and formulate what you have as a consistent brand across the board so that all of your employees are acting in the same direction, moving in the same direction, so that the public is perceiving you in the manner which you want them to perceive you? I'll start, Tom, with you.
You know what, 2 things on that. I think great question. One is that you can never create a wave. Not anybody in this room will ever create a wave. Your mission, your company, nothing will create a wave. Won't happen. The waves are there. You have to ride that wave, right? And the waves are out there, right? There's 61 million Americans with special needs that are looking for employment. 1 in 39 kids are going to be born on the autism spectrum, right? I mean, as parents, grandparents, 1 in 39. How do you employ that? How do you tap into that? It shouldn't be called autism. It should be called turboism, right? That the minds are brilliant. Whoever can harness that will win. And then second of all is, if I say 61 million Americans with special needs are looking for work, it's just sort of a stat, right? You want to bring that down to a face, to George Michael in the back, or Michael George, right? You gotta have faith. To put a face to that, right? To put a face to that mission, that purpose. And I would say this, that one of the largest nonprofits in Houston is called Center for Pursuit, whatever, and we were a little bit involved with them, and they had a groundbreaking for the biggest facility that was going to be built in the third largest city in the United States, serving people with special needs. And they invited us down, and they invited all the media and all the VIPs and dignitaries. They serve over a couple thousand people with special needs. How many people with special needs do you think they brought to the press conference? Zero. Grant and I were the only ones down there. It was like the mayor, everyone else, right? Like, get out of the way, right? I think it's biblical. Get out of the way, get out of the way. I gotta say that is so hard for me. Because you see those things in backlight, they're called limelight. I love it, right? But man, get out of the way of what you like. And when you do, you know what happens? Guys like Brand will deliver a message 100 times more powerful than I could ever do. You ought to be up here.
So what has worked for me is aligning myself with like-minded individuals to keep the uniform. So a lot of people have tried to exploit certain populations for a profit, and that really tarnishes the business, right? So I remember speaking on that Zoom one time, and we had over 300 individuals on the Zoom that wanted to franchise Howdy Homemade. And it was because the Houston store, when I opened it, we had a lot of celebrities come by, the mayor, and it was national news, and we had lines wrapped around the corner for, 2 or 3 weeks, right? And so businessmen saw that as an opportunity to make a lot of money. But if you don't have the heart and the passion behind it, the profit won't follow. And so sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And so with every business that I have had, we're very slow at aligning ourselves with organizations, people, or whatever, even though it may mean that we don't grow as rapidly as some of these other franchises or businesses that grow overnight because they're just trying to turn and burn. But I feel like it's more sustainable long term, and it's more enjoyable because the individuals that we are aligned with share the same passion. So it's not, it never gets confrontational. It's very easy for Tom and I to talk because we want the same thing. Our goals are the same. It's not about what did you make this month, right? And no business that we have is it all about the profit. Now, you do have to make a profit, but together, when everybody's on the same accord, the profits will come and the ideas will share, and you know, cordially we help each other because it's not a competition, because we're all after the same thing. And so that's what I think in regards to how do you keep it uniform. I think that, you know, strategically align yourself with people who want the end goal that you want.
Let me open it up to questions. You have my question?
Both of y'all took big leaps. Tom, you're in the restaurant business, but this is totally different than how you made it. I know you've run a lot of businesses. How do you get yourself to the point where I'm going to do this? I don't know what's going to happen. I've got to find investors. I've got to do some big risky things. What allows you to take that huge step?
A part of you have to be a little crazy too. But I'm younger, so I'm more risky. So my financial advisor was like, until you're 40, like swing for the fences. So I took more risk. But again, I think it's just walking on faith. I feel like when I got that calling, I never thought about it not working. The way I live my life, and I can't say others should do it, I don't really have a plan B most of the time. It's either this or nothing, and that's how I look at things. Whether I have 8 things going or 80 things going, I go into it with 100%, and I basically don't allow it to fail. And if it does, I still feel like it didn't fail because I learned something. Mm-hmm. So when it came to Howdy, I never really thought about how it wouldn't work. I always thought about, man, this is gonna work. you know, whether we give this ice cream away and get grants for people to come get it for free, like we're gonna figure this out. And I think that mentality has allowed it to be very successful, because even on the days or the months where, you know, in the restaurant industry, it's not always a profit, it's not always pretty. There are months you break even, there's months you're in the red, but you don't make a profit. But in those red months, there's a lesson in it, so you don't have multiple red months. So I see those months as a win also, because in those times is when you can really learn. You don't really learn much when, you know, money's just pouring in. It's kind of like you're on autopilot. So I sometimes appreciate the dark times, because it does help you to refocus and figure out strategies and things that you need to do to correct things. So going into business, if it's truly something I'm passionate about and truly something that God has led my heart to entertain, there's a reason for it, and I try to figure out that reason, and then I go into it just thinking, this has to work.
Thank you.
I think it's a great question, and I think Rod's right. This world does need, a business world especially, perhaps a lesson from John. That guy was pretty nuts, right? He wore, if you believe this, John was nuts, right? I mean, he because he was outside the line. And then the other thing I think is that, man, you just need a mustard seed, right? You need the smallest, littlest piece of faith. But, you know, Best Buddies is a giant national brand. It's run by a guy named Timothy Shriver. He wanted to partner with me for Howdy when we first started, right? And he said, Tom, you simply have to understand, you're doing what I've ever dreamed about. I was like, Mr. Shriver, with all due respect, I bet on your keychain are 2 or 3 cars that if you threw it down, you could do what you want. Now this Bible, right, what does it say? Your house is what? But a tent, right? But what are we doing in church, right? You meet your neighbor, whatever, peace be with you. Oh, where do you live? Oh, Highland Park. Oh, Preston Hollow. Wow, that's a great investment. Whatever, right? And I'd say this finally too, is I want to be a parent more than I want to be a businessman. And how and where do we teach our kids to truly put others first? Is it in the finest schools? I don't know. Where do they truly learn to put others first? And I'd say this, that there's never been a semester where I've known how I'm going to pay for my kids' education. Never. But maybe if God created this earth, He could take care of this earth, He could do something like that, right? He could figure it out, and the things come through. And I think honestly, it's not through me, but it's through my employees hanging out with guys like Brand or others on caterings or whatever, where, man, they see a specialness and a spirit and a God and an understanding, and it truly makes it just a fantastic endeavor. And I think sometimes this world just needs a little bit more faith, right?
And I will say, I am married. I've been with my wife. We dated since I was 15. I'm 37 now, so we've been together more than half my life. And truly a good support system helps a lot. Like, she's really my backbone, and she's really strong, but it's more than just the knowledge that she brings. It's that support. Because in those times where business is hard, she's always very encouraging. I feel like if you don't have a good partner or a support system, if you're single and not married, you still need somebody other than yourself. A lot of times, men, we feel like we can do it by ourselves, and the businesses that I took on by myself without really consulting with her or having a support system, it really suffered, because we all need somebody strong behind us. I'm the face, I'm always on the camera, I'm always interviewing, but it's truly my sister and my wife and the women in my life that are really the backbone. And Howdy, Essential Speech and ABA, a trucking company, they're the ones that are running all the routes. They're really doing everything. I'm just the face, so every chance I get, I really want to highlight them, because my sister was a teacher, and if you understand, teachers, like, they are all about systems and organization. I'm a big idea guy that throw it at the wall and it may not stick. And they come in and they really streamline things to make the processes seamless so that the businesses are operational. And so I do think, and I am a strong believer in having a strong foundation in faith, but you have to build a strong support system too. No matter how much hunters we are, it's almost impossible to do it without strong women behind it, to be honest with you. That's my testimony.
From a brand perspective, I'd just be interested in how is, like business results wise, how's it been and what's on the horizon for the brand?
Yeah, you know what, it's been interesting, fascinating, right? Because getting out of the way and letting the employees shine, right? We'll sign our next franchise next week, right? And that'll bring 8. And then, gosh, it just is amazing. One of the Frito-Lay guy, one of the guys that he's good friends with, is a guy named Dr. Jim Stalder, invented baked Lays and Tostitos scoops. Great friend of mine, and all he said for years was, wow, we love Howdy, but you will never get into retail. It won't happen. It is impossible to get into retail. Impossible to get into retail, right? Like Rod, like, oh, that's all I want to hear. And well, HEB had a contest, and I entered it for 5 years. And first year,
No,
second,
no,
third,
no,
fourth,
no,
fifth.
bingo.
And I remember 5th year driving down the street with my son, and he's 14 or whatever, and I said, yeah, I think we're really going to win it this year. And he goes, Dad, man, I love you, but you stayed that 5 years. But you know what happened once we got there? Then gosh, right? Then Publix, right? And Publix is one of the largest chains around. They don't take any new brands. They only take you if you're proven, and you're proven everywhere else. You walk in there. We had a chance to pitch to a company called Walmart in Bentonville. And guess what? Like, that gets you excited, right? What's the first thing you think? I need a Mont Blanc, a power tie, da-da-da-da. Nah. You know what? I didn't even go. I forget. Who went and pitched that business? And I don't know if that's ever, kind of been done before, but man, it is absolutely time in every way, shape, or form. Right? Get out of the way and let the people do what needs to be done to build it. I truly think of this, and so much comes down to the people and continuity. And almost, if you want to see the best example of that, to me, it's Cistercian, right? You want to look at just a school that just continually, they have a winning streak for soccer. They haven't had a goal or a loss in like 1,024 days. You know what? Who cares? I think they have a better streak going. You know what that is? It's people continually coming up. I'm horrible with names, but she has 3 daughters, I think, that went through. And you know what her comment is? Gosh, every boy there is just nice. Like wow, that's the streak. And why? Because I think it's men that have made a covenant with God that they will spend the rest of their lives, they're committed, they are all in. A guy that caught 7 passes for 81 yards on the 1992 National Championship team that Coach Gene Stallings coached for Alabama was a guy named Dabo Sweeney, right? He went on, and now he's the head coach at Clemson, right? He started the Shepherd Hotel, which employs 30% of people with special needs, but his nonprofit organization, his phrase for everything is 2 words, all in, right? And I mean, I think one of the most dangerous things in the world, in business and in anything, is what? That phrase, why don't you be lukewarm, right? I'm going to be lukewarm and you're going to come into work for you. I'm kind of good, but kind of mail it in, whatever. Man, if you want to make a change, like I think it's this collection of people, and this is the final thing I'd say, if you have 2 people, you can do anything, conquer anything. 1 person, it's kind of hard, but 2 people, and the first thing is everyone will come in divided. Well, let me kind of be that, but whatever. You get 2 people, and next thing you get 3, 4, 5, you can get an entire legion of people behind what it is you want to do. And I think that's kind of how you build the brand, building people that believe in what you're doing. And true, it's a mission too. I remember I had Pizza Patron restaurants, a guy that started Wingstop, we're 100 people in a room, and he's pointing up to this logo. And it's a logo, it's a cartoon character. And he's like, this is what we bleed and cry and do for. And it's a cartoon character, man. That's not driving us. I think, the younger generations say that they care more about what your business stands for than what you're selling. And I hope one of the things that Howdy will do is change the entire discussion of anybody coming in with business. Like, hey, I'm opening a restaurant. Cool, what kind of food? Is it fast casual, whatever. And then the next question is, well, what's the purpose of it? Well, man, I want to make a lot of money and put it in my pocket. go for it, buddy. Right? Like that I don't think is gonna work. There's gotta be something more to it, and I think that's what we're starting to really see.
So you're intrigued by you're talking about your unit, your employees, your people. Were you gifted with some type of plan or training or that allows you to discern these people and motivate them to do more and become more a part of, or do people sink or swim?
Zero background with special needs, and for the first couple of years, my mantra was, if we are not breaking laws, we're not moving the mission forward. And now I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna back that and bigger we grow and whatever. But, I mean, gosh, my goal was, I want to just treat everybody the same, treat them with love, respect, and move forward and make it happen.
But we modified systems also to give them a chance to be successful. For instance, like our cash register, everything is round numbers. So 1 scoop is $5, 2 scoops is $7, so they can count currency. So we've done things to slow down and make it interactional instead of transactional. So it's not a turn and burn. You don't just come in, get ice cream, get out. That's why my location, and I don't think any locations as of today are drive-throughs. Because if one has a speech impediment or something, I never wanted people to not be able to see a face and interact through an intercom system and be pushy or rude. When you come in and you get the experience, it's different. And so that's why we have indoor seating or outdoor seating and games, and we make it like a family environment. But the system that we have put in place allows them to work the cash register, scoop ice cream, clean up the store, greet individuals, so they really run the entire shop from front to back, which then gives them a sense of purpose. It's not just taking the trash out. But that was implemented by people that are way smarter than Tom and I, school teachers, right? They came in and said, let's build a training system. Let's see who can converse and shake a hand, say, welcome to Howdy, who can scoop, who can do this, and then they drilled it and then showed us that these individuals are way more gifted and talented than even we thought, right? And that's how we've transformed Howdy into something that is able to be replicated anywhere in the country. And so now it's helped streamline to get good quality individuals in there, but give them a shot to actually shine.
Yeah.
And actually, the person that should answer that question is with Notre Dame, someone from Notre Dame, I saw a name tag. Right, like really, you could argue in some ways all Tom Landis has done is take the credit for everything Notre Dame has done, to take people and train them up and educate them and love them, and then they graduate into the world, but it's because of all the work of an amazing school, Notre Dame, and couldn't say enough about that school.
On that note, can I have the next question? I'm Caroline O'Brien. I'm the president of Notre Dame School. And so that was really my question is, we have 34 job sites around Dallas. We are familiar with Howdy. How do you work with a company? We have a room full of people who are potential profits. How do we put in their head and heart why hire somebody with a different ability? What that does for you individually and your company and your brand? Like what's the tool in the toolbox? What's the spark? It's magic, but it's too hard to be prayed for in magic. It is that and. Can you identify any of that or help our friends here that now go out? Does that?
One of the things that Rod has kind of always brings up from the start is take any number of a company, their number of employees, and multiply it times 0.08, right? So we go sit down with HEB, right, and they have 160,000 employees. They're planning to add 40,000 more. That's 200,000. Multiply that times 0.08, and that's the number of families internally within that company that have someone with special needs, right? That's what we're trying to focus on. And then an employee, right, that's where we want to go and focus to them is almost internally, hey, who do you have within your own company that might have someone with special needs that because transportation is an issue, right? Now they can come to work with mom or dad for part of the time. So I think that is a huge factor. And then, frankly, the other one, I really just to challenge the people. I mean, People love football. There's a guy named Rusty Russell, coached in the 1930s, coached a bunch of orphans, right? And when he lined them up against the 11 other players, they were all really big guys and they had pads. These were little guys with no pads. So Rusty Russell, what did he do? He didn't look at their differences, he looked at, or their deficiencies, he looked at what they could do. So you know what Rusty Russell did? He spread them out. So now when you want to go talk to me about who invented the spread offense that every college and pro team uses, it's Rusty Russell. We need to do that within the businesses to try to change it. Rusty Russell then beat Highland Park 3 times. After they beat him the 3rd time, Highland Park hired him. He eventually coached Doak Walker at SMU. But it's just interesting, how do we take this mindset? Because it seems like across, and I would say this too, across every industry, I don't care what industry it is, and I don't care whether it's CEO, busboy, whatever, the single most, the thing that people don't like doing is something repetitive, right? We don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again. It's what leads to burnout, it's what turnover, whatever. God created these people that love to do the same things over and over again. And man, we just need to tap into that. And every business, every industry, there is a spot and a position to fill for them. But it also, I think we need to fairly set that bar of, hey, how is it both good for the business? And then the last thing I'd say is that if you want to be a better spouse, you want to be a better boss, you want to be a better friend, hang out with Brant. Hang out with someone that maybe looks at life a little bit differently. And man, the joy that Brant brings into my life, the complex small problems in my life, right? There is absolutely tremendous value to that, and I'd love to talk to you more off on that, because that's our number one thing, is how to get businesses to hire.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question. As you grow with franchisees, do you guys, how's that vetting processing, looking for mission and purpose? Because I'm sure there are tons of people, as you spoke, that want it to be profitable and see an opportunity to take advantage. So as you start with one and now you meet, so how, is that just a faith-based, you meet people, and are you guys having like a formal vetting process? How does that kind of transpire?
Yeah, well, and to that point, one of the questions a lot of people ask is, gosh, what if someone hires and doesn't want to, or opens one and doesn't really want to hire special needs? Really, almost everyone that's involved has a personal tie-in that, frankly, it's almost offensive to even ask them that question, right? They are more vested, tied in than I am, right? I feel like and maybe this, that so many families, especially, man, the plate is just full. And we're trying to provide them just a diagram or a playbook of what could work, what could help. And but they're the ones that are, frankly, I think, taking the special needs to the next level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so when I was helping out with franchising, we didn't look so much on the financial stability of the applicant, more so of what they've done in their lifelong process. If you haven't really been a big giving back type of individual, or individual that donates their time and efforts to help people, not just with special needs, but from diverse populations, then you kind of have to look at that application, with a fine-tooth comb to understand why all of a sudden they went from owning liquor stores to wanting to own Howdy Homemade, right?
Yeah.
And then you ask, what have they really done in their, from childhood to now, and the answer is, well, nothing yet. So, that kind of stuff is what I was looking at when I did it, because again, I live life on that other side, so I understand, how it works, and so you just have to be cautious, very slow to, again, engage with anybody, especially when you're really trying to walk in faith and do something that you don't want it to get tainted by, the bad apples that may just want to turn a profit. And so we've had opportunities to sell lots of franchises. We've had opportunities to do a lot of things that can generate a lot of money with Howdy. We've had big rappers and athletes that want to come along and they want to put their face on the pipes instead of brands. And so would that, create news waves? Well, of course, right? But then you're taking opportunities away from individuals that deserve it. And so, I never want to put the people over profit, profit over people. And so that's kind of what we do at Howdy to ensure that kind of doesn't happen. But it still can. It still can happen. We just pray that that day never comes, but it hasn't yet.
Thank you.
We're gonna just keep going with the questions and answers and forego the lightning round, because getting the feedback from Rod and getting the feedback from Tom and allowing you to pose questions and feed your soul and your mind with ideas, I think is the right thing to do. So, Ricky?
So you kind of, what I think Tom hit on, a lot of your franchisees have like a specific reason, and they're almost offended when you ask, hey, would you hire special needs people? What fraction of your franchisees have a special needs child or grandchild?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I mean, I always say, like, gosh, is trying to share the gospel in the last attempt to use words, right? I mean, a guy like Rod doesn't have a family member, right? My franchisee in Colorado, I mean, imagine this, like, this is just, he comes to me, he says, man, I want to do a franchise, and he signs up, he goes, you know what, I don't know a single person with special needs. I don't even know where I'm going to find someone. Stop and think, this guy doesn't have, there's nothing personal, it's not his kid, it's not someone, he's just like, man, I'm retiring, and God's calling me that this is what I should be doing. Wow, right? And it was interesting, because he goes, man, I don't know how I'm going to hire, I mean, where are you going to possibly, I don't know anyone. And so my brilliant experience and my expertise, seminary and all that, I combined it all, and I said, man, have you put out a now hiring banner? And so he did it, and man, and I would say this, because it's something I think you tapped on in the back, is the hardest part about Howdy Homemade, and I always share it with franchisees and anyone that wants to get involved, is that once you hire and staff, you're not going to have a turnover problem. But you are going to have 400 or 500 people on a wait list. And every day, someone's going to stop you in an elevator, in church, at the gym where I don't work out. And they are going to say, hey, man, can we get a job? We have people driving 2 hours from around the Metroplex. Hey, can I get a job? And if not, and here's the question, where can we go? And what's the answer for that? Because I want to provide them with hope, I want to be truthful, but where can else they go? And you know what, Howdy shouldn't exist. It shouldn't need to exist, right? And we have this secret sauce, and it's called our employees, but we really don't see the world embracing it, and if we did, Howdy wouldn't need to exist. But I would say this, where there is frustration, there's opportunity. Where there's frustration, there's opportunity. I look at the restaurant industry, 125% turnover rate is not uncommon. Man, our goal, Jersey Mike's just announced they're going to try and hire 1 employee for each of their 3,000, with special needs for each of their 3,000 stores. That's the future. That is the future, and that's where we want to be and lead.
We have time for probably one more question, and then we'll wrap up. Yes.
Well, I'm so excited to hear this story. It's really inspiring. I'm going to have their conversation with all my kids about you guys tonight. Going a bit back into the history, I'm curious about what was the strategy or the most successful tip that I think you guys did to break into a market where you have tons of different ice cream products. You have, that I imagine was the hardest part. How did you stand out? What do you think was the key factor in your campaign to start to make your name go out?
Yeah, so in Houston, and the Houston market is probably different than other markets, but in the Houston market, it wasn't the product, because there's ice cream shops in every mile, right? And that was one of the biggest things that people said, like, it's kind of silly to pop up an ice cream shop in Katy, Texas, where everybody eats out every day, all day. There's Dairy Queen right here, so I was like, you're right, but you're wrong because of our mission. We're the only ice cream shop with a mission. And so I think because of the mission, you'll be surprised of how many people in the community have friends or family with individuals with special needs, which then compels them to want to come and support it, because you just don't see them having a job. You don't see these individuals working, and because of that, you know, people do come out and support. And then when they come out and support, they try the ice cream, and the ice cream is really good. But the ice cream is just the vehicle to drive the message. It's really the mission. And so the mission piece of it is what differentiates Howdy from all the other brands. And it's hard to do with like most restaurants because, I mean, the truth is you have to slow it down a little bit. Like the process has to be slower. It can't be turn and burn. It can't be a fast-paced process because individuals with like autism, they, like when I got, so Howdy, I beat out Dippin' Dots at Texas A&M, U of H, and Rice University for football and basketball games. So I got the exclusive contract with those 3 universities. And going into Kyle Field, I remember walking the stadium and we were looking at every ice cream cart that Dippin' Dots had in the stadium. And man, just walking it alone was overwhelming. But the noise really caused a deterrence with my employees with autism because of the sound. And that was something I just didn't think about. So I say that to say, like, the mission alone allowed these major universities to entertain the idea of allowing us in and kicking somebody like Dippin' Dots out without even trying our product. But it just didn't make sense because it was more of a, again, it went back to this was an opportunity to make a profit. It really wasn't in the best interest of the employees. So it was something we backed out of and didn't do, even though that could have scaled Howdy to a, you know, to a whole nother stratosphere. But that is what differentiates ourselves. It's the mission. When I pitched that to those universities, they said, hell, I want y'all in. You know, and it was because of who we were employing. They wanted to align themselves with something that was, you know, social mission. So I think that alone really helps us a lot.
And your mission is is everything, right? It is fascinating. Ben and Jerry's, right? North Carolina Teachers Credit Union pulled out $40 million out of Ben and Jerry's and Unilever because they didn't like Ben and Jerry's mission and philosophy. Nothing to do with product, right? And that's $40 million. Now Unilever's like, hey, let's sell off Ben and Jerry's. That's the ramifications of what we're seeing, right? So, you know, if you want to support the things at Ben and Jerry's, that's cool. You know, if you want to support the 61 million Americans that have special needs, man, there's another brand you can tap into, and it seems that those are the seismic shifts that we're truly seeing in America right now.